Hey guys, Karin here, and I'm popping on a Sunday morning here in Australia. No, it's not Sunday morning, it's after lunchtime. It's just after 12 o'clock, about 20 past 12 in the afternoon. It's taking me about 2 hours to work out my recorder. I do my videos like this FaceTime with Loom, our software called Loom, and also another one called Descript. And as you probably know, if you follow my channel, I haven't been active on YouTube for probably maybe 2 years. I've popped the odd video up, but the way things happened, and I am back. I am coming back. I did put a video up about a week ago saying I was going to post a video every day, and my apologies. I probably have put a bit of a high goal there for myself, but I will definitely get videos up to you regularly. Let me just pop a video, get as many, like, I'm just going to hop on YouTube as much as I can at the moment, and then I'll get a system going. I get a little bit overwhelmed with tech. Coming back after a break, and yeah, it's quite overwhelming doing content. Oh, actually, I'm not even going to say it's overwhelming. I'm going to say it's time consuming. And if you're not really digitally savvy, it can get overwhelming. Once I get into a role like I did before, it's good. I'm really busy, as most of us are in today's world, aren't we? I've got lots of horses. I've got lots of dogs. I'm working in racing and I'm studying. And so it's all about me now organizing time management and getting some content with you. So please be patient with me. And yeah, if you hit the subscribe button and press the notifications, you will get a notification every time I upload a video. And once again, I promise I'll get more consistent with uploads, and also I will get in on routine. As I mentioned in my previous video, I have my beautiful off the track thoroughbred Mandy, who has just come into work. I have about 3 videos to put up for you. And once again, this week has been trying to work out all my tech issues happening. So bear with me. I'll get there. So I thought, I'm just sitting here with a coffee, and as I said, I've been here, tried to get this video done about 2 hours ago, and had all my issues with Loom and that. Now I feel like I've wasted about 2 hours. Haven't wasted it, but I just, yeah, it gets a bit frustrating. But I've got it all set and going now, so next time I get a video to upload, I'm all ready to go. Okay, so this isn't a Mandy video. I will have got 3 Mandy videos to put up for you. I've been filming her progress. We'll talk about Mandy in the next video. I'll do a separate library on my YouTube channel for Mandy, so you can follow Mandy's progress. Sunday morning, what I want to talk about is what's been happening on Facebook. We have a photo here of Charlotte Dujardin, who has recently just returned to competition after being banned for 12 months for the video that surfaced on her whipping a horse. I think it was like 42 times. And I wanted to talk about my thoughts on this. I'm not going to ramble on or make this a long video or anything, especially after just trying to get it all set up for 2 hours to record it. I've got to go out and do my ponies. But I wanted to share my thoughts and my perspective on the welfare issues, horse welfare issues within all horse sports, and the Charlotte Dujardin returning to competition, and how people are responding to it. I'll just see. Now, you'll have to excuse if I go out of my video here, you will see the most crazy home screen ever. This is my Facebook. I just saved a couple of videos, a couple of links just to Charlotte. So there's a few people that have commented. So Charlotte's saying here, it's given her a real buzz to be back. So there's a lot of support for Charlotte returning to competition. And why is this? So my question is going to be, why? That was pretty horrific. It was horrific seeing how she whipped the horse, the excessive whipping and distress that was caused for the horse. It's seen all through the horse industry. And why is this? Why are generally everyone is, the horse world is so accepting of horse abuse, And yet, if we put the same abuse that is often seen with horses and accepted with horses, if we transfer that same abuse to it being put onto a dog, it being put onto even a human, it would be people. How many people would be supportive of Charlotte Dujardin returning after she whipped a dog 42 times? I don't think many people would, if any, because why is this? Horses disguise their pain. Horses disguise their suffering. They suffer in silence. A horse does not communicate vocally. So when they are being abused, when they are being hit, when they are in extreme pain, when they are emotionally distressed, they will express their suffering in behavior displays, rearing, not going forward, behavior issues, aggressive behavior, biting, kicking. And these, and a horse will, because it's a flight animal, it's a horse, it's a prey species. So they are designed, hardwired to hide pain, to hide vulnerability for survival. It's their survival instinct. So horses won't clearly express in a way that is seen, as it would be seen in dogs and humans when they're in distress. So if a dog is hit, hurt, it will yelp, it will scream, it will. It's distressing to see a dog being abused. I've seen just recently there was a dog abused, and it was put on social media. It was being thrown in the water and held under the water and then brought up, and it was cowering next to the people. I couldn't even watch it, actually, and it actually hurts my heart to even speak about it. I love animals completely. I've got 8 dogs, and I think all of us could agree that seeing a dog being abused is horrific. I can't even watch it. And this saying of, anyone can die in a movie long as it's not dog. So why is it that we're so affected by abuse of something like dogs, an animal like dogs, and even people, children, but yet when horses are abused in exactly the same way, it's so accepting. And I wanted to do this video, and it's just, as I said, I'm just coming back to social media, so it's all over the place. I'm not organised, and my screen is all everything. And I just wanted to, I think if I've got in my screen here, I'm not even going to show you my home screen. You can see on the side here, I have so many. My brother-in-law is horrified when he sees my screen. He's like, just put it in stacks or something, will you? I'll just give you a quick look at my screen. Like, seriously, it's all horse stuff. All of it is horse stuff. There's my study and all my videos and everything. It's crazy, but I will get organised. I just like to have everything in front of me, even though I can't find anything on there because there's so much. But anyway, deferring off the topic, I wanted to show, this is underneath one of the posts about Charlotte returning, and this person, this poster has just said, this doesn't sit well with me. We are all human, we all make mistakes, and I do believe everyone deserves a second chance, but to see this rider warmly welcome and even celebrated after being exposed for very consciously and very purposely whipping a horse repeatedly in the name of training feels wrong. And it is wrong, and I'm right there up there with it. And once again, it goes back to, if it wasn't a horse, but if it was a dog, if it was, animal abuse to a dog, for instance, the dog would be cowering, screaming, yelping. And so how many people would be welcoming back Charlotte if she was found out to be a chronic dog abuser? Or even, it's sort of hard to, obviously she's not competing with dogs, but if you understand where I'm coming from. And my perspective, well, is it my perspective? But my thinking is, because horses suffer in silence, they do not express verbally their distress, their pain. And so we aren't confronted with the pain and the fear and the suffering that they're going through. We're not confronted with it. We're not seeing it unless we really learn to read the horse, and we learn how horses communicate and understand the horse as a species. And still then, there's something, I mean, even me, and we've all learnt through our training. I mean, I don't think many of us have started off perfect, particularly if I'm how old am I? 56. I started off in the very traditional dressage, show jumping, pony club back then, and then going into competition where, you know, it's all about roundness. It never sat well with me, and I couldn't really achieve it very well. But there's particularly back then, because there's no social media, there was no online, so to have access to other options, you know, and now we've got equitation science. There's such a massive focus on welfare. There's really no excuse for continuing to go down the path of horse training methods that compromise horse welfare, because there is so much out there now that is speaking of better ways, and also evidence-based research showing how horses, you know, are compromised with their welfare with these more traditional approaches of horse training and horse management. And that there's a world we have our world at our fingertips, literally on our laptop. We can access so much information, and there's really no excuse, at least, you know, to know that that people are speaking up on welfare within the horse sports, and that there has to be something to it. But back then, you know, when I was in my teens and early 20s, well, coming back, and I started working professionally within the horse industry at the age of 29. I had a pony at 12 and rode up until that. But even at 29, what was that? 39, 49, just 27 years ago, something like that. We didn't have the social media like we do now. So, and online, and now AI. So, okay, I've lost my trail of thought here, but I really wanted to say, and I just jotted down some notes here. When I'm thinking about, well, there was also a recent, there's a few, well, I'm in Australia, so there's an Olympian, Heath Ryan. So there's this Olympian, a lot of welfare issues have come up with these elite riders. So Heath Ryan here in Australia, some horrific abuse has come up in regards to him. And there was a post recently put up on the absolute everyone, all the riders, the Australian competitors and riders, and that all have gathered to support him, and going and actually targeting the person, the worker. I would say it was a stable hand that, or an employee, I think it was, that has been the whistleblower, and calling them a lowlife. One particular elite show jumper Olympian has actually called them a lowlife in this post, and bringing down someone. And I mean, to see that horse, I don't know if you've seen the Heath Ryan video, but to see that horse repeatedly whipped, once again, it was the use of the whip, and excessively. I think this horse was hitting something like 50 times. It was horrible to see. But where I was going actually is even, I mean, I work in racing, and I'm in the equestrian industry as well, show jumping and dressage, and have competed. I haven't competed for a good few years now, and we'll get back to it, but predominantly racing. And because you're with it every day, and horse training has basically been very, the traditional horse training has been very ethically compromised towards horse welfare, and we're brought into it. And I'm going to say, I think the biggest thing is, because horses suffer in silence, they can't express their distress other than in their behaviour. Horses can only express their pain and their suffering in their behaviour, which in most of the time is classed as, you know, the horses are naughty, they're problematic, they have behaviour issues. They don't put it down to the horse speaking. Instead of the horse yelping like a dog would when they're distressed or in pain, they will kick out, refuse to go forward. So it's not confronting, is it? Like, we can push them forward too. It's not confronting like a dog screaming in pain and fear and terror. And this is my perspective on why riders that have been caught abusing horses are so readily accepted back into the limelight and supported. The suffering of horses isn't seen like it's seen in other animals, and it is, and I really believe that because the horses do not express pain the way that it is confronting in other animals and people as well. If you whip a person, 42 times, imagine the screams coming from that person. So this is my outlook on why it's so accepting. People are so accepting of animal abuse, horse abusers to be welcomed back, and we're seeing it here. So Charlotte Dujardin has been, she's been embraced. She's been, there's so many supporters saying the Queen's back, and here's one, someone saying, oh, for Christ's sake, give it a rest. I saw the video. Yes, it was unethical, but the horse she wasn't exactly beating the horse to death. The whip she used didn't even mark the horse in the video. Well, it would have easily marked the horse. So, and this excuse, these animals play rough with each other. So it's just pathetic. It's actually really pathetic to even see these. As I said, horses have the same pain receptors as we do as humans. Their skin is even more, the nerves on the horse's skin are even closer to the surface than they are with us. Their senses are so heightened because of them being a prey animal that it's just so sad to see these excuses made for her. So even this one, I absolutely love seeing Charlotte Dujardin back. What strength and courage this shows. She has possibly had one of the hardest years of her life. People on stage were judging her, hope she fails. It's just, and my comment, so another one here, fantastic job, girl, is Great Britain doing well as seeing her back. She's taken her punishment. She's made a mistake. Let her move on. This is full-on abuse to a living and breathing animal. We have been so accustomed to horses being our slaves. Horses are our slaves. Now, here I am coming from someone who works in the racing industry, and I'm very well aware of welfare in racing. There's welfare in everything. I'm in thoroughbred racing, and I'm passionate, and I retrain off the track thoroughbreds. The welfare is everywhere. I am going to say, though, that just from the perspective of embracing trainers, riders that have been caught with horse abuse, we have a trainer in Australia, that Darren Ware, that was caught. He won the Melbourne Cup, and he was caught with jiggers, which is electric shocks given to horses to increase performance. Now, he's been disqualified and banned for, I can't remember now, a good few years. There's no celebration, or even trainers in the past that have been disqualified and banned for horse abuse, or using banned methods of training. When they come back, it's not celebrated. So I will say that for racing, we're not celebrating the return of these trainers, and it doesn't go all over social media, the celebration of these trainers returning. So to actually see this celebration of Charlotte Dujardin making a return is, like this comment says here, it doesn't sit well with me. And it just, to me, it shows how really horses have become our slaves. And there has been very little understanding of how their welfare is compromised. It's only more recently than anything, due to evidence-based equitation science and evidence-based principles and lots of research, that their welfare is compromised. So, and once again, I go back to their silent suffering. It's not confronting to see. We're not confronted with an animal suffering like we are when a dog suffers, or a child, or a human. And it's the same with livestock, pigs, cattle in intensive farming, and that they suffer in silence. So I just thought I'd pop on. As I said, I'm just coming back to content, and I really wanted to just speak about this just because this is my perspective, and I really think it comes down to how the suffering of horses isn't confronting like it is in other animals, and they hide it, and we're so used to. I don't know how I think it will change when we become a more empathetic species. We're not very empathetic, and there's something that I do, and I mean, I've got my dogs here. I know if my little dog got caught, a leg got caught in the table I have out there, and she cried a little bit. So you're like, oh my God, if I step on my dog's tail or their foot, they cry. Or if one of my dogs gets, oh, actually, I wouldn't say that. My dog got kicked by one of my horses and lost her eye, but she didn't even cry. So, when she's a stoic dog. So what are horses? They're incredibly stoic. They communicate completely different to us, and we are only now really just understanding through evidence-based research and education of how they communicate. And one thing that I do, and I think what needs to happen is, as I said, me being working within the horse industry, even I cannot watch a dog. I can't even watch a dog die in a movie. I just get too upset. But I work in racing. I see horses suffer I'm seeing horses suffer all over the internet. We see them everywhere, all through dressage, the hyperflexed, overbent. It's not, and so I don't know what it is. What is it? Well, they're not screaming, are they? If every time we pulled the reins, the horse screamed, imagine that. You wouldn't be pulling on the reins, would you? You would not be putting the amount of mouth pressure on a horse's mouth if every time that pain, that when it hit the bars of their mouth, if they screamed, we would not be doing it. So because we don't see it, we don't hear their voice, then it's more accepting, isn't it, for us? So I think that way to do it, and it's interesting because it's very hard to identify with. We're humans. We don't even understand ourselves most of the time, do we? We don't understand other people, but generally we understand how we communicate. If someone cries, they're upset. If you burn yourself, you scream. If a horse gets burnt, they don't scream in pain, do they? If a dog gets burnt, they scream in pain. So what I do, I read it somewhere, I'm not sure where I read it actually, but I work in racing at the moment. There's probably about 39 horses in the stable I work in. I haven't been on the ground for a long while, so I'm actually on the ground. I normally ride track work. I have done I've worked in racing since 2004. Worked in riding schools, so even riding schools, and I've worked in vet hospitals, equine vet hospitals, and done a lot over the years. But when you're riding track work, you're on off horses and you feel if they're uneven or they might be pulling or not hanging left or hanging right. And I have worked on the ground. I worked full-time for stables, so you're doing everything riding. But I pretty much started in the racing industry learning to ride track work, and I've been a track work rider the whole time. When I've been injured, I've hopped on the ground, but I've had a few years off because of sitting there very crooked, aren't I? Shoulder injuries, a horrible accident that I had. Nasty accident, I should say, that really it's taken me a while to heal. And I went back in 2021, but I haven't ridden for a few. We'll go back to the amount of horses I used to ride, but just to go ride a few for fun. But at the moment, I'm on the ground, so working, cleaning stables, leading, strapping, hosing, races, all that thing. And you see a lot of detail, the horses in the stable. You're handling them, you're looking at their legs, their body, and eye treadmill and things like that. So you see this most intimate, how their behaviours, whether you're wind sucking, how they're behaving in their boxes, how they're behaving if they don't get much hay, and that things that you wouldn't normally see when you're riding track work as a freelance track work rider, on the off horses, on off. And so it's interesting going back and being on the ground because you get a lot more, you get the very intimate details of how horses experience their life in racing that I've seen before when I was on the ground working this extent for near full-time hours. My knowledge was nowhere near it is now. It was way back on the ground. I was, working in stables. Gosh, full-time in stables. I went to ride freelance, 2014, 15, so 10 years I haven't worked, just several moments. But anyway, the 10 years ago, 12, 13 years ago, when I was working full-time on the ground, as I said, I was still riding back then, track work. My knowledge and my awareness and experience has increased so much since then. So I'm seeing things now, the intimate experiences of how horses experience their life. And my empathy is a lot higher. I've always been very empathetic, but as I said, I think it's very hard to empathize with horses when we don't even see we're such a completely different species. So what I do is I read somewhere, every time you're handling your horse, if you're just quiet and you look into their eye, and I do this because even me being very empathetic, and an absolute lover of animals since I was a tiny little girl, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you look into a horse's eye, you still sort of have that detached. But if you look into a horse's eye and you go, there's a person in there, and we know they're not a human. But if you look into your horse's eye and you go, there is a person in there. There's a person like me in there, or there's a person in there. If I notice, if I just say there's a person in there, there's a being in there. There's someone, there's a being in there that is experiencing, that feels and thinks and that like me, that suffers like me. And if you just look in their eye, and even if you say there's a person in there, because there's still a person, when we say a person, we're talking about a being, aren't we? Like we look at our dog and we look into a dog's eye and go, there's a person in there. They're experiencing the world just like I am. They feel just like I feel. They get hungry like I get hungry. They get stressed. They get anxious. They feel fear like I feel fear. I mean, horses feel fear a lot more than we do, because that's they're fear-flight animals. They're a prey species. But it gives you for me anyway, it sort of like connects a bit of empathy, instead of seeing our horses or having this not being able to connect. I think every time we're on the internet, you see all this. There's so much now. It's actually, a lot of it is promoted as, emotional connection with horses and putting, connect with your horse emotionally, and it's still not. It's actually compromising horse welfare in a lot of ways, even though they use the terms emotional horsemanship and give the horse a voice and let the horse make the decisions, or I'm trying to think of, without having something in my thing, give the horse, well, it's important to give the horse agency, but how do we give the horse agency? Well, that's a different topic. But if you don't know where I'm coming from, but what we really need to connect with is to actually, well, can you see me? I hope. Well, we go back to my Charlotte Dujardin one. I've got all my P3s and all stuff there. If we can get that connection to realise that there's a person in there, that horse, my horse that's standing there, that horse that's down. I do it with the racehorses at work. I'll be in there and a horse might be looking, one might be weaving. And I go, there's a person in there. Obviously that person is really stressed. It's displaying, like, just say someone who has compulsive obsessive disorders, or someone who is having panic attacks. That person is suffering in some way, emotionally and mentally. And these horses, a horse that is weaving, a horse that is windsucking, a horse that is kicking out when they're being saddled up, they're suffering like someone that humans have a lot of coping mechanisms, smoking, drinking. So, but we can scream when we get hurt. Horses can't scream. So if a horse is being whipped 42 times, they can't scream, and they'll shut down, or they'll explode, or they just go into a state of learned helplessness. So anyway, so my little thing is just where I'm coming from. I think I wrote here on my notes, horses are easy to abuse because they suffer in silence. And if it was a dog or a child, or I think dogs are a really good example, because a lot of us have a strong connection with dogs, and they express their pain and their distress. And if it was a dog, that was receiving the same treatment, would Charlotte Dujardin be welcomed back to the way she is? Would people be so forgiving and accepting and just say, well, it was just a mistake that she whipped that dog 42 times and it was in the corner, cowering in fear with, welts on it? That dog would be traumatized. So it just shows you how stoic horses are and how they express they'll shut down. But, and as I said, it's not just Charlotte Dujardin that's been celebrated, and also supported so much by their fellow equestrians and the horse world in general, but also Heath Ryan. There's so many of them. And I will say that, as I said, in thoroughbred racing, they come back and they get not very good, some of them get banned for, some trainer that's been banned for life, but they're that sometimes what they receive is fairly lenient, but they're not celebrated like Charlotte Dujardin is. So that's my observation here. And they're not celebrated like Charlotte Dujardin is being celebrated by the media at the moment. Welcome to the Queen of Dressage. And so anyway, I might leave it there. And as I said, this is a bit of a rambly video, but I wanted to do one and just my thoughts on what's happening at the moment. It's a pivotal time for equine sports because, and racing, big one for racing, but also all horse sports, that there's a big risk that horse sports will lose its social license. And it would be much nicer to see the horse embraced and their welfare put as a priority. And instead of seeing the horse as a slave, we don't even see the horses as a slave. You know, we're riding them. We've got bits and chains and saddles and everything on them. We're not thinking most of us love our horses, and it's like domestic violence, isn't it? You love your partner. Well, I haven't, it's not something I've personally experienced, or, it's not like that as such, but in domestic violence, a lot of the times they will so-called love each other, but abuse happens. Well, look at the horse-human relationship. We love our horses, but we keep them in. Our horse management is compromises their welfare. Race horses, we love our race and do. Like a lot of trainers love their race horses. Stables love their races. So I don't know how to fix it. It would be so lovely to see a huge transformation where horses are used not used, but it's a partnership where their quality of life and is nurtured and protected. And I really believe horses can love being in work. I've just brought a horse in work, retraining Mandy, and another one, a few of them just coming back into work, and I can see they're so much more enjoying my interaction with them and being than being out in the paddock and just being fed a few feeds a day. And they're in a herd situation as well. I can actually see how much Mandy is enjoying the interaction with me. I can see another one, Lily, she's just, I can see that they're interacting with me, they're more relaxed. So I think our relationship with horses and even having horses in sport can be doable, promoting their welfare and, promoting them as the most amazing, wonderful animals that they are, and what a gift we have to be able to sit on their backs and experience this unbelievable movement. It's amazing. So anyway, I will leave it there, and my next video is going to be a video for Mandy. I have 3 videos lined up. As I said, I'm retraining Mandy after 10 years off, and I'm retraining her bitless, and it's for my Diploma of Equitation Science. I'm just going to I'm retraining the process of doing my assignment with her. So my next video will be Mandy. I'll have 3 videos to put up. So hopefully I'll aim to do that this week to get those videos up. In the meantime, thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to follow my content and be patient with me while I get back into the groove of getting content up, hit the subscribe button and press the notifications, and you will be notified when I put another video up. So until next time, I'll see you then. Bye-bye.